Hello, everyone. I am Avoidtune, and today we will be discussing the first ever initiation of Big Brother Reindeer games. Now, I I predicted that the Big Brother was going to do a winter season. They've been doing winter seasons for a few years now, and with the whole writer strike and actor strike going on, they need additional content. I predicted that they would be doing like another celebrity Big Brother, despite all the massive flaws there. But no, they decided to do these reindeer games, and my initial thoughts when hearing about this were like, okay, like I'm going to watch this, I'm going to participate a little bit, but I'm not going to consider these reindeer games like, wow, this was an incredible thing to watch. I'm so glad I jumped on board with this. But going through the entire thing, like I completely flipped the script to like maybe like episode 1 or 2. Like these Reindeer games were really great. Like I did not think that Big Brother would be able to give us a successful concurrent season that was adored or clearly liked, which seems to be the consensus. But they did, and I honestly think it goes into a few things that made the season really great. One, there were no live feeds, so people weren't watching all the time and picking out every little detail, every little thing, and making the whole experience crappy. Two, it was pre-recorded, so the producers and editors knew the results, they knew what was happening, so they were able to, for once, make a overreaching arc of a story throughout the 6 episodes. Versus in regular Big Brother, it's going on as we see it. So they don't know any results. They don't know what's going to happen the next day or two. Like we could see someone in position of power be looked at as a front runner, and all of a sudden, bam, they're now at the bottom, and now they got an underdog arc. They don't know these things ahead of time, so they have to make things up as they go. But with these reindeer games, they were able to see the whole thing play out and know how to make a story for us to enjoy. Which brings us to our third aspect, which made these reindeer games good: the cast. Like we got a full-on great cast with amazing legends. We got the return of certain players that we've been wanting to see for years now, such as Frankie, Brittany, Danielle Reyes, duh, and some recent winners such as Xavier and Taylor, and even Josh. We can definitely consider Josh in that category, I guess. We got some players that no one really wanted to see, but I think who brought something to the game as themselves in Cody, Nicole, Cameron. Every single player brought something into these reindeer games that greatly benefit the season, and to see them interact with each other and see how they navigate this new game style was very impressive. Which now brings us to the format. Now, there were rumors online saying what the format might be and all this and that and that. I personally didn't believe anything until the actual episode started, so that things would become concrete. And I like the concepts, and I think these do provide a neat paradigm to what we normally get, starting with the 9 Nights Challenge, which from what I saw, it was just a quick game where it centers around Christmas songs, and if you win, you get a reward, you get an advantage in the next game, the Jingle Bell Brawl, and you also hand out a disadvantage to to someone in that same competition. And, and the nice the nice part was easy, you just win and you receive it. But the part gave complex inter game effects throughout each handout that brought some interesting conversations. Then it was the Jingle Bell Brawl, and this is where, okay, I have power, I have safety, I have to make a decision. These were the ones you wanted to win the most, other than Santa Showdown. And I believe throughout the whole season, these Jingle Bell Brawls were balanced, so I liked how they went. And then you had a Santa Showdown, which was very similar to the challenge and was their eliminations. You go head, and just try to win. If you win, you stay in the game. You lose, you're out. Simple as that. They changed it up a bit throughout each episode, and I think this provided a really good, really fun aspect that we normally don't get. I think this provided what we wanted from Big Brother, and that's what we got it. So I am thankful for that. Hello, everyone. I am Avoidtune, and today we will be discussing the first ever initiation of Big Brother Reindeer games. Now, I I predicted that the Big Brother was going to do a winter season. They've been doing winter seasons for a few years now, and with the whole writer strike and actor strike going on, they need additional content. I predicted that they would be doing like another Celebrity Big Brother, despite all the massive flaws there. But no, they decided to do these reindeer games, and my initial thoughts when hearing about this were like, okay, like I'm going to watch this, I'm going to participate a little bit, but I'm not going to consider these reindeer games like, wow, was an incredible thing to watch. I'm so glad that I jumped on board with this. But going through the entire thing, like I completely flipped the script to like maybe like episode 1 or 2. Like these reindeer games were really great. Like I did not think that Big Brother would be able to give us a successful concurrent season that was adored or clearly liked, which seems to be the consensus. But they did, and I honestly think it goes into a few things that made the season really great. One, there were no live feeds, so people weren't watching it all the time and picking out every little detail, every little thing, and making the whole experience crappy. Two, it was pre-recorded, so the producers and editors knew the results. They knew what was happening, so they were able to, for once, make a overreaching arc of a story throughout the 6 episodes. Versus in regular Big Brother, it's going on as we see it. So they don't know any results. They don't know what's going to happen the next day or two. Like we could see someone in position of power be looked at as a front runner, and all of a sudden, bam, they're now at the bottom, and now they got an underdog arc. They don't know these things ahead of time, so they have to make things up as they go. But with these reindeer games, they were able to see the whole thing play out and know how to make a story for us to enjoy. Which brings us to our third aspect, which made these reindeer games good: the cast. Like we got a full-on great cast with amazing legends. We got the return of certain players that we've been wanting to see for years now, such as Frankie, Brittany, Danielle Reyes, duh, and some and some recent winners such as Xavier and Taylor, and even Josh. We can definitely consider Josh in that category, I guess. We got some players that no one really wanted to see, but I think we brought something to the game as themselves in Cody, Nicole, Cameron. Every single player brought something into these Reindeer games that greatly benefited the season, and to see them interact with each other and see how they navigate this new game style was very impressive. Which now brings us to the format. Now, there were rumors online saying what the format might be and all this and that and that. I personally didn't believe anything until the actual episode started, so that things would become concrete. And I like the concepts, and I think these do provide a neat paradigm to what we normally get. Starting with the 9 Nights Challenge, which from what I saw, it was just a quick game where it centers around Christmas songs, and if you win, you get a reward, you get an advantage in the next game, the Jingle Bell Brawl, and you also hand out a disadvantage to someone in that same competition. And the nice part was easy, you just win and you receive it. But the part gave complex game effects throughout each handout that brought some interesting conversations. Then it was the Jingle Bell Brawl, and this is where, okay, I have power, I have safety, I have to make a decision. These were the ones you wanted to win the most, other than Santa Showdown. And I believe throughout the whole season, these Jingle Bell Brawls were balanced, so I liked how they went. And then you had a Santa Showdown, which was very similar to the challenge and was their eliminations. You go head to head, and just try to win. If you win, you stay in the game. You lose, you're out. Simple as that. They changed it up a bit throughout each episode, and I think this provided a really good, really fun aspect that we normally don't get. I think this provided what we wanted from Big Brother, and that's what we got it. So I am thankful for that. Now we move on to episode 2, where it's basically just a long conversation, a long discussion on the fact that Cody and Frankie are the biggest threats in the house, and we need to break up their bro bond. And we get Brittany and Danielle talking about how they're the threats, and we also get Frankie trying to get some protection from Xavier, and Cody is just talking about how everyone is coming after him. So we move on to the Naughty or Nice challenge, where you're given a giant Christmas song list, and you need to figure out which one is not on the list, or the other way around. Anyway, a lot of people try to guess. They're mostly wrong until Cody gets it right and wins the Naughty or Nice challenge. And his advantage is that he gets to form his own team. So it takes him some time to figure out the right combination of people to put on his team, but he ultimately goes with Frankie, Xavier, and Nicole, making Josh, Taylor, Brittany, and Danielle the opposing team, and he gives a naughty disadvantage to Taylor specifically. Now going to the Jingle Bell Brawl, it's basically the overdogs of Cody's team versus the underdogs of Taylor's team. And it starts off with Taylor having to disadvantage first by putting special ornaments on a smaller tree. Going to the challenge, you have these 4 trees and you have to bounce these ornaments on them so they don't fall off. It starts off with it's actually a bit of a awkward moment, a rarely cool moment because Cody's team is struggling out the gate with Nicole and Xavier consistently dropping the ornaments. While on the other hand, Brittany, Danielle, Taylor, Josh, they all fly through it. So at the end, that team won, and it's a massive celebration all around. And then it's revealed that they don't get to save 2 people, they only get to save 1, and it's going to be a 3-person showdown. And I think it was pretty much a decision among some of that Cody and Frankie were going to go into Santa's showdown. But now it's a matter of, do they save Nicole or Xavier? Ultimately, the decision was to save Nicole and hope that Xavier can take out Frankie or Cody. We go to Santa Showdown then, and we basically get put into a toy shop, and you have to find the right toy that matches the description of the kid that wants that toy. And this one was the one that I found to be intriguing because it's basically an equalizer. It's just a matter of paying attention to the details and just getting the right thing. It's honestly not that hard. Ultimately, Xavier got it first, so he's safe. It becomes a showdown between Frankie and Cody, and Frankie gets the win, sending Cody home. Obviously, Frankie's probably the only one that's upset about Cody going home, but I think Cody going home really changes the game. He was probably the favorite to win, and now he's gone. So that makes things extremely wide open for the future. Ultimately, he goes to the Christmas tree, and in typical Cody fashion, he pulls out a fruitcake. A fruitcake for Cody. Hilarious. And now let's quickly talk about Cody. Cody has a large legacy in Big Brother, being the dominant Hitman Alliance, getting second his first time, and then coming back and playing a nearly perfect dominant game in All Stars and winning. What we saw from Cody is the effect that you get when you win, when you spend time preparing yourself trying to win one of these games, and then you win, and then the fire burns out. This is true Cody. He's not a naturally manipulative person. And after winning All Stars, he doesn't have that same fire, so he's not as motivated, and we can see that. Ultimately, I was happy with this result. Was I necessarily happy when Cody was announced for the cast? No, but I think this result makes it okay, and I do like how his involvement connects to Frankie and Cody, and we got these new dynamics like Brittany and Taylor. Moving on now to episode 3, where in the opening we are immediately introduced to with a conversation between Nicole and Taylor, starting this story, this trend of the four women of Nicole, Taylor, Brittany, and Danielle having each other's backs and wanting to go to the end together. I do believe this is a real conversation and this was a real plan. It just was never going to be executed in full, in my opinion. We go from this conversation to a conversation between Danielle and Xavier. Xavier is obviously upset that essentially his own alliance threw him into Santa Showdown last episode, and Danielle's doing the rounds and making sure Xavier's all good and trying to reaffirm his loyalty and trust with her. This conversation then leads over with Brittany and Nicole, who see what Danielle's doing, and they made a mental note that we see what you're doing, Danielle. You know, you're trying to get Xavier on your side so that you can potentially take us out. It's obvious. Okay, that's the opening scene. We go now into the Nara Nice challenge with a brand new elf in Derek X. Now, the Nara Nice challenge is the Christmas Crooner challenge, where he sings a song about his breakup, and it's their job to figure out why his girlfriend broke up with him. Clues around the house to try to figure it out. It was ultimately a conversation between Josh and Taylor that figured out why his girlfriend broke up with him. Because he is too cleany. Taylor ran in first, won, and so Taylor won the Naughty or Nice challenge. And with that, she gets an advantage in the Jingle Bell Brawl by getting a 30-second head start. She also gets to give out a disadvantage to whoever she wants, and she ultimately chooses Josh. But he volunteered for the disadvantage, so it was an easy passover. His disadvantages: the puzzle keycard to know what you're doing is right will be blocked. You won't be able to see it for the first 5 minutes of the challenge. Now, this is the miniature box challenge that you see in Big Brother, where you have to put together a tiny little puzzle with these tweezers and try to put it together like that. This was a very frustrating challenge from what I could tell on the show. It lasted forever, it seemed like, and it ultimately came down to Nicole or Frankie who would get it, and Nicole won the Jingle Bell Brawl, and she had the power to send whoever she wanted into Santa's Showdown. But this Santa Showdown is different from the last two. She has the power to send in one person to compete in Santa Showdown on their own, and if they manage to win, they get to send in another person to compete in that same challenge again with less time than them. This challenge was a sort of like a hamster wheel and a puzzle put together. Like you spun the hamster wheel around and it navigates a ball through a maze, and the faster you get the ball out of the maze and hit the buzzer before time runs out, wins. Nicole ultimately puts down Frankie so that he could have the most time in the challenge. He got through it. He won in 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I believe. So now he has the power to put someone else in, and he chose Xavier. Xavier did not do as well as Frankie, getting this done in 4 minutes. So if Xavier had been put in even one round later, he would have lost and would have gone home. Thanks, Frankie. Or not thanks, Frankie. His reasonings were sort of like, okay, both scenarios work out in my favor. You're welcome. Xavier now had the power to put someone in, and he chose Brittany. Now, Brittany was understandably emotionally devastated because she believed that she was going to lose and this was all over. And the feels were definitely there. Really upset, really upset. Everyone was really upset. And going to now, Brittany is now competing, and she crushes it. A real hero moment. She got that done faster than Frankie. Some big relief. Big hero moment. Congratulations, Brittany. Now she has to make the decision on who to send down, and could either pick Taylor, Josh, or Danielle. Going back into the house, she asked Xavier up front, "Why did you put me in?" And he made a dumb move, in my opinion, in saying, "I put you in to protect Danielle." So Brittany did the obvious thing and just put in Danielle. I mean, she's clearly not working with me if she's saying to Xavier, "Put me in." No. So she sent Danielle out there, and ultimately Danielle lost this fourth round of Santa's Showdown. So good, we say goodbye to Big Brother legend, but she didn't go home empty-handed. She went under the Christmas tree and pulled out $5,000. Yeah! Woo! And that's a wrap on the episode. Now, let's quickly talk about Danielle. She's obviously an iconic Big Brother legend, so it was very great to see her return on these reindeer games. We got to see that old fire coursing through her, and she definitely did play the game. Like, she was doing really well socially up until the last minute. And going into this, I thought there was going to be an unspoken rule on letting Danielle get to the reindeer games. Like, I thought there was a universal respect that Danielle should get to the reindeer games. The end. Guess I was proven wrong, and if you play too many sides and just to be too open about where your true loyalties go, you'll get squashed. And that's what happened with Danielle. I honestly hope we see her again, but this was ultimately on her for her loss. Going into episode 4, our opening scene is basically seeing how the house is now divided with Frankie, Brittany, and Nicole on one side, and Josh, Taylor, and Xavier on the other side, a 50-50 split, if you will. And then we go into sort of like a middle ground scene where we have the three women of Taylor, Brittany, and Nicole basically reassuring them that they have each other's back and they want all three of them in the reindeer games competing against each other because apparently that's their best chance of winning. And we get a confessional from Taylor saying that she is she is probably the most well insulated person in the house, and that at there's some benefits and some costs to being insulated because you're protected if you don't win, but if you do win, you will have to seriously betray someone that you actually care about, and that could cost you. Now, going to the naughty or nice challenge, it's a crime scene. apparently, apparently, there has been a kidnapping with a Jill Frost. One of Santa's reindeer did it, and it was their job to figure out which one of the reindeer kidnapped Jill Frost. An assortment of clues were pointed out to figure out who was the culprit. I'm honestly surprised they didn't get it almost immediately. Like, I put together like the 3 clues that were given to us, and I instantly knew who it was. Only two people got the question, who got the correct suspect, Frankie and Josh. But ultimately, it was Slasher, and Frankie got the win. So Frankie's advantage is that he can pick his teammate going into the Jingle Bell Brawl, and he picked Taylor. Now, the other 4 had to decide which for themselves who they want to be partnered up with. The partnerships ultimately became Nicole and Xavier, and Josh and Brittany. Now, the naughty disadvantages during the Jingle Bell Brawl, Frankie can freeze one of the pairs and stop their progress in their tracks for 30 seconds. Now, the Jingle Bell Brawl is putting together a rather complex puzzle in one of Santa's sleighs, and during the challenge, Frankie froze Xavier and Nicole because they were in the lead at the time, and I believe that helped them because Frankie and Taylor got the lead and ran with it, and they won the Jingle Bell Brawl. Now, their power to send someone to Santa Showdown was split 50-50. Frankie could choose one person, Taylor could choose the other, and they could only choose one person from each other pair. Frankie could choose could choose either Josh or Brittany, and Taylor could choose either Nicole or Xavier. The decision on Frankie's side was easy. Send in Josh. Brittany is my ally. Josh isn't. On Taylor's side, it wasn't as simple because she's aligned with both Xavier and Nicole. It was hard for Taylor, really hard, but ultimately she chose to save Xavier and send Nicole down into Showdown. This was ultimately hard at first, but it was ultimately, I think, the right move. Now, going to Santa Showdown, in the Candy Cane Showdown, Candy Cane Rodeo, my bad. Nicole versus Josh. It's one of those Big Brother challenges that you see sort of like in the final portion of the game, where you just have to hold on for dear life and don't get tossed and turned. Now, this lasted for over an hour. These 2 were holding on for dear life. It ultimately came down to a photo finish. They dropped basically at the same time. It came down to who hit the mat first. They checked the tapes, and they saw that it was Josh who hit the mat first, and Nicole won the Santa's Showdown. Congratulations for Nicole, but Josh is eliminated, gets a present under the tree, and he gets yet another ugly sweater. Now, speaking of Josh, let's talk about him for a quick moment. Josh was underrated, I think, in these Reindeer games, but we could definitely see how much he's grown since Big Brother 19. I mean, we have seen his transformation from a kid to a man, sort of, throughout his challenge career, but I think this is the best version of Josh that we've seen, and Josh has sort of grown into a presence that is rootable on these sort of games, and Josh is fun to watch. I don't know what else to say. And I think if he won this Santa Showdown, I think he could have made it to the Reindeer games. I don't know if he could have won, but I think his chances were better here. Moving on now to episode 5, the only significant scene in the opening is a scene between Taylor, Brittany, and Nicole, with Taylor apologizing to Nicole for throwing her into the last Santa Showdown, and the three of them basically, again, reaffirming to themselves that this all girls thing is true, and we're all going to try to stick together and get to the Reindeer games because our best chance is up against each other. After that, we got our final Santa's elf, Tiffany, and then we get our fifth Not Your Nice challenge, which, in my opinion, is the lamest one out of them all. Like, you had to go up to Santa's workshop and memorize a key outline and try to find the matching key somewhere in the lodge. And I don't think this challenge lasted for more than 2 minutes at most before Nicole found the key and opened the door. So Nicole won the Iron Ace challenge. So she got an advantage, which also was someone else's disadvantage, because this is going to be the last Jingle Bell Brawl, but this is also going to be a two-parter. And if you win either of these Jingle Bell Brawls, you're going to the Reindeer games. Nicole's advantage is that she can essentially force someone to sit out of the first Jingle Bell Brawl, giving them less opportunities to save themselves. And with that, she chose to sit out Xavier. So, for this first ranked Jingle Bell Brawl, we have Taylor, Nicole, Frankie, Brittany. And this one is a tasting challenge. Sorry, a bit of a laugh there, considering this is probably the most. There's one part of me that really likes this challenge, and another part that just is like, this is one of your latest challenge ideas? Really? One where you drink some disgusting smoothies or eggnogs and you try to have them guess what's the missing ingredient? I mean, I guess these people have taste buds, or at least Frankie Taylor and Nicole do, because they came close to getting all of them right, or enough to put them in a significant lead over Brittany, who got Bubkiss. Ultimately, it was Taylor who won the first Jingle Bell Brawl, sending her straight to the Reindeer games. And after that, she had the power to bring someone else with her. They don't have to, and leaving the other three to compete in the second Jingle Bell Brawl. With that decision, she chose to save Nicole. Now, going into the second Jingle Bell Brawl, we have Frankie, Brittany, and Xavier. Now, this is the sort of competition that you would expect in the final HOH. It's a memory game where you have to give certain answers to specific questions involving the naughty or nice performances. And it came down to a showdown between Frankie and Brittany because Xavier did not study for this test. It was close, but Frankie ended up winning the last Jingle Bell Brawls and making him the third person to go straight to the Reindeer Games. Now it's the final Santa showdown between Brittany and Xavier. They both won Santa showdowns. Brittany won, Xavier 3, but the difference is definitely there. This final Santa showdown is probably the most engaging, I would say. You have to ride a zipline and knock down these billboard puzzles, and once you knock down all 3 billboard puzzles, you have to find the pieces that you need and reassemble your own puzzle. Xavier got the technique down quickly. He was knocking them down. Brittany did not know what she was doing. By the time she put the pieces together and figured out what she needed to do to get a proper momentous swing to knock down the pieces, Xavier had already knocked down all of his billboard pieces and is now rushing to get the pieces he needs to build his puzzle, which doesn't go very quickly because Brittany somehow manages to catch up and knock down all of her billboards. Now she's racing back and forth to get the pieces she needs. It's a close game. They pretty much have an equal number of pieces, but Xavier managed to get all the pieces he needed first and managed to put his puzzle together and win the final Santa showdown and head to the Reindeer Games, sending Brittany home. And now let's talk about Brittany. I really liked Brittany this season. I liked her in BB12, BB14, and I was glad to see her back. And honestly, I thought she actually had a real shot at winning these Reindeer Games. And I think if certain things went a different way, I think she could have made it to the Reindeer Games. But unfortunately, luck wasn't in her favor, and she was eliminated here. So sad, and I hope we see her again in the future, or at least in some capacity. And now we're here. We have made it to episode 6, the finale. The excitement is through the roof. Now, this opening isn't exactly bulky, let's just say. It's just basically we have Nicole and Taylor basically saying how they both got here, and then we get Nicole once again speaking, saying how she feels that she's the underdog because she has these amount of confidence, and how she'll be happy with who wins this at the end of the day. Now we get into our final Naughty or Nice challenge, where basically there's a bunch of artworks hanging around the lodge that have been there since day one. The difference is one painting has been switched out for a forgery. You have to identify the forgery. That's simple. And that's pretty much how this went, because apparently this is the one test that Xavier's been studying. So once he sees the Mona Vixen statue portrait, he goes to the bell, rings it, and wins just like that. Final Narnet challenge. And his advantage is that he can select who he goes up against in the semifinals of the Reindeer Games. That's how the Reindeer Games are going to be worked up. As sort of like a tournament style. 1v1 on one side, 1v1 on that side, and the winners of both rounds go to the finals, where the winner gets the $100,000. Now, Xavier has the choice between Taylor, Frankie, or Nicole for who he wants to go up against in the first semifinals. He's aligned with Taylor, so it's not going to choose her. So it's a matter of, is it going to be Frankie or Nicole? And he ends up choosing Nicole. So it'll be him against Nicole in the first semifinals and Taylor versus Frankie in the second semifinals. Now, the first semifinals are a wheel game or a gear game where you have these two giant nutcrackers and you have to assemble a trail of gears leading to the final gear at the top. And then, if all the gears are connecting right, when you spin them around, it should work and crack a nut that's inside the nutcracker's mouth. First one to crack the nut wins and moves on to the finals. Now, Nicole also has a disadvantage because of the naughty side. This side, she cannot do anything for the first 30 seconds. Now, once the 30 seconds are up, it seems like it's an even game. They're both putting up gears and trying different outcomes, but ultimately, Nicole cracks the nut before Xavier, ending his winning streak in these showdown scenarios, sending him home in fourth place. Now, let's quickly talk about Xavier. Xavier was pretty much a lived in standard showdown. He is definitely a good one-on-one competitor, and he definitely represents what he stands for the most. If his back is against the wall, he will fight for himself. It's purely logical, no emotion, all that. Now, we go into this second part of the semifinals between Taylor and Frankie. Now the challenge is you have a bunch of elves on these platforms in which you need to knock them down, but you need to knock down the right elves, which is why you go to a police scanner in the background and listen on the call and pick out the details of the elves that you need. Once you hear that, then you know which elves you need to knock down, and then you use a slingshot and navigate your shot to the right elves. Once you've knocked down all of the right elves, you win the semifinals and go on to the finals of Reindeer games. It was close, real close between Taylor and Frankie. It came down to a single elf. And it looked like Frankie was going to win, but he accidentally hit down the wrong elf, so he had to reset, giving Taylor the opportunity to knock down her final elf and win, sending her to the finals of Reindeer games and eliminating Frankie right at the last minute. Now, let's quickly talk about Frankie Grande. I really liked Frankie this season. He brought the energy that I was looking for to all of this experience. People sometimes say Frankie's annoying, but I don't see that. I mean, he did have his annoying moments in BB16, but here, no. I think he's really refined the character that he portrays himself to be, and he is a legitimate challenge beast. He won a solid chunk of the challenges this season, and I think if things gone a little bit different this season in the end, I think he would have easily won Reindeer games. So I'd love to see Frankie return for a proper Big Brother season. I think he's willing to do it, and I look forward to that day. Now, we are here at the finals. Can you believe it? We have a giant gathering of all the eliminated contestants and all three elves, and Santa Claus is here. And now it's time to witness the moment we've all been waiting for, the finals. Taylor versus Nicole. Now, these finals are a three-parter. You have to obtain three items that Santa needs: the mystical mistletoe, the enchanted antlers, and the everlasting snowflake. You These finals were close at first until Nicole struggled obtaining the mistletoe. From that point on, Taylor got a lead, and she maintained it up until the everlasting snowflake. Snowflake. From there, Nicole caught up. She got the mistletoe. She got the antlers, and they were both on the snowflakes. And it was back and forth between the two. It came down to just a few snowflakes from dropping. But the winner of Baby Reindeer Games ends up being Nicole. Can you believe it? Yes, because it happened. Nicole won Big Brother Reindeer Games, making Taylor the runner-up. Now, my opinions on Taylor. I think she's a great person, great competitor, and I think these Reindeer Games proved why she's an icon of these new Big Brother days. And seeing her not have this pressure on her of a house that's not that's very nice to her allowed her to play up this new side of her that we didn't see before, one in which I very liked and I would like to see her again. Now, let's talk about our winner, Nicole. Very unexpected ending. I like the ending. I think it's a good conclusion point of you can't underestimate anyone, and it's definitely one that shocked me personally. And I'm here for the surprises, like bring it on, and that's I think what Big Brother Reindeer Games now is going to bring. Now let's wrap this all up with the closing thoughts. Now, let's start with the season's likability, the concept, the idea of these Big Brother Reindeer Games. Like I said at the very beginning, going into this, I did not put like go full in with the idea of Big Brother Reindeer Games, but wrapping all this up and seeing the full season, I really like these Reindeer Games, and they light a fire under me that I have not felt for Big Brother since ever, really. And I think it's because was there was this effort put into it that has not been seen in a very long time. And another contribution to that so-called effort is something. Effort is because of something else that transpired that I didn't discuss before in the beginning that I wanted to. It was the intro, that animated intro package that we got before the episode started, the one where all the contestants are doing Christmassy stuff like pulling on Christmas lights, sliding down a hill, and throwing snowballs. Like, that's something that they chose to do. They didn't have to do that. They didn't have to do anything, but they put in the effort to make that little animated intro package for us that it's not the best quality, but it's something that they didn't have to do, but they put in the effort to do it. And even though it's not the best, it's still actually pretty good for what they were probably trying to accomplish. And putting all that together and the whole outside perspective on these reindeer games, I think the potential for us getting future reindeer game seasons is highly great. Like I'm honestly expecting like maybe towards the early portions of next year or this year technically that we'll probably get an early announcement for like another reindeer season. If we're not like, I'm not going to drive a fuss about it, but like it's something that I actually do am expecting just based on the ratings and the outpour of likability online. Like I'm fully expecting another reindeer season, and honestly, like I think we'll get another batch of returning Big Brother vets. Like bring the Rachel Rileys, the Johnny Macs, the Janelles, the Dr. Wills. Like I want to see these legendary players or people who have only played once and deserve a second chance to come on Big Brother Reindeer games and compete their hearts out. I think it's much better for that, better for them to come on these Reindeer games than an actual another Big Brother season. So yeah, I'm all in on these Reindeer games. Let's continue them, bring them on, bring more and more of these very popular, likable players that we've seen before. Let's do it. And with that, those are my thoughts on Big Brother Reindeer games. Till next time, I am Void Tune. Peace.